Welcome to a radical discussion of independence, free will, liberty, and the left-hand path. This is Daimonosophy, your host, Throbbing.
We should be live now. All right. Well, hey, welcome to Saturnian Sessions on Daimonosophy, where we explore the groovy dark vibes that descend upon the unwary who stay up too late on a Saturday night. And tonight, my guest is my old friend Erin Powell from the band Awen in Dallas.
Hello.
Hey, Erin, how you doing?
Yes, I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's great to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I'm glad to join you on this.
Yeah, me too. So you're about to have a new album drop, huh?
We are, yeah. October the 4th, on the German label Trisol, we have a new album called The Hollow in the Stone that's coming out, and we're all super excited about it. We've been working on this for years now, and it's the strongest material that we've done. So we can't wait to have it come forth into the world.
I can't wait either, and I think you're absolutely right. What you've allowed me to take a listen to, I got to say, this is very, this is all in grown up, I guess, from what I'm recalling. And the last I recall was like a while ago. But I mean, the composition of these songs, the recording and everything, and especially I'm going to talk about the song, the title track, "The Hollow in the Stone." I mean, it's beautiful, and it sounds to me, you got to update me on your instrumentation, because it sounds like you've got acoustic guitars and bass going on in this. Am I hearing that right?
Exactly, yeah. We have a fairly new member. You hadn't met him before, but his name is Wes Radvansky, and he's our guitarist and bass player, and he's amazing. I can't say enough about his talent and what he's added to the project.
No, it's actually,
he writes all of the guitar lines and everything, and it's just, I'm always amazed whenever he has something new that he's brought up. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's always amazing.
I think it's great. It's like a new dimension for Awen, and it's just so smooth and haunting and dark and just really really wonderful. So I'm trying to I guess let's like back up and get some of the history here. So
sure.
I'm trying to remember, when did you and I first meet?
Well, geez, I know that Awen did their first show and Verdandi did their first show together in Houston, but I think we had met a couple of years previous to that, if I'm correct.
Okay.
And so what was that? Was that 2004 or something that show happened? So maybe we had met each other, maybe 2002, 2001. Does that sound right?
That sounds very possible. Possible. So, 2004 is when Asmodeus X released Morning Star. That's kind of like my anchor. This is one of my anchors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you understand this as you get older. You say like you anchor yourself to time based upon when you released such and such a CD.
Yep.
So Morning Star is 2004. Right, and then and so we were talking. I know we were like playing shows around. We were playing shows. I think maybe we met in Dallas. Maybe we played a show in Dallas or something. And we started talking there. And then we did the show with Verdandi, which is the neo-folk project that I was doing with Alice Carl's daughter, and you and Awen, and that was at a place in Houston called the Mausoleum, or maybe something else. It's one of those places there that just changes, every few years. It like changes its name.
Yeah. And I remember I'd never been there before. We actually showed up to do the concert, and as soon as I walked in, we walked in together, and we looked down, and the design and the flooring was all Phil Folks. And I was like, oh, well, this is going to be it. That's a good omen. It's going to be a great show, and it was a great show.
Right. That's totally right. I forgot about that. But yeah, that was an awesome show. So, and I remember, I remember going over really well. And there's not a lot of needle folk in Houston. There wasn't then, and there still really isn't now. But I mean, it went over really well. I remember we had a really good time with that. And you had a new album out then, right?
Yeah, we just come out with the first album, The Bells Before Dawn. I think we just finished recording it, but it wasn't released yet because Deus picked it up and put it out. I think the next year, maybe.
Oh, okay. I remember my memory is centers around the song, "The Cairn and the Crossing." Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, the Cairn and the Crossing. Yeah. Yeah,
I remember.
That was. Go ahead.
I remember when I heard it on the album. I remembered it from the show, so that's always a strong. It's always a strong signal when you hear something, and then later on you recognize it after only hearing it once.
Oh, great! Yeah, yeah. That was one that came to us and was just kind of wrote itself, and some of the best things do. And then we ran I said, well, why don't we just run that guitar backward? And we did. And that's how we got the sound for that particular song after we'd recorded it.
Right. And then who else do you have in the band?
So our lineup right now is me and my wife, Katrine, Per Nilsson, and Wes Redvansky. And sometimes we have a bagpipe player, which joins us for live shows, and that's Glenn Bailey.
Oh, that's so radical.
Yeah, that's always fun. The crowd usually doesn't know what to make of it whenever they hear the pipes fire up.
Oh yeah, that gets all the Scotch-Irish people in the audience they get all excited.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you see it too. You see the eyes light up, and then they just start. They just get entranced by it. There's something in the blood that just kind of draws them to that sound.
Right.
It always did for me. So whenever I found out that he was actually learning to play the pipes, I couldn't wait to get him involved in the project for live shows because, it's a riling kind of instrument.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. So I remember Katrine, and I remember Per. Was he down when we did that show?
He didn't come down for the show, but we were already working with him. Eric was in the band at the time, and he has the band Unicode machine also, just to focus on that. So he hasn't been involved in the band for a while now.
Oh, okay. So we've established that was a while ago. So I mean, even the most liberal estimate, if I think it's a little bit later, it's still like beyond the 10 years ago mark. So what's been happening since then? Have you had other releases since then?
Yeah. We had an album before this one called Grim King of the Ghosts, and it came out on the label Old Europa Cafe out of Italy, and that was kind of a theme album with the title track, and the concept of the Grim King ran throughout a number of the tracks. So we used that was kind of a transition point too from where you had heard us previously, where we started to work in more kind of delicate acoustic guitar work, and we have an old pump organ that I have in my house that we brought in on that album, and it's featured on several songs too. So we're kind of broadening our instrumentation from that album, and then it really works as a progression to this new album. I think you can hear how it's really matured, as you said.
Yeah. And then you've done some touring too, right? And you go tour overseas.
Yeah. We've played several shows over in Germany and Denmark and England and Italy, and this year we're going back and we're going to play Germany and Belgium for the first time, and I'm excited to visit Belgium.
Oh wow, it's awesome. What other bands? You've been playing with other bands out there too, right?
Yeah, we've the first time that we went over, we played with at Nihil, which was the project of my friend B9 Invid after his band Luftwaffe split up.
Yeah.
I love Luftwaffe.
Yeah.
A great project, but he formed at Nihil, and we're good friends, and so we went over and played in Germany together, and we actually did two tours with at Nihil, and then most recently when we went the last time, it was Awen and Boyd Rice, and so we did a couple of shows over in Europe together.
Wow, I bet that's intense.
It was a great time. It's invaluable that time just spending with him and getting to hear all the stories. He's got an excellent memory and a great sense of humor. So that was a lot of fun.
No, that sounds intense. I'm sure I probably told you before. I met Boyd like in 1997, I think, when they were touring with Death in June. And it was at the Dome Room in Chicago. I just met him through Thomas Thorne, and we just talked for a couple of seconds. And he was just a real nice guy. I mean, he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
But we didn't really. Well, that was. Did you hear that?
that was, yeah. What was going on there? It sounded like somebody had a big crunchy piece of plastic or something behind you. I don't know.
That was your music, is what that was.
Oh, all right. Well, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly how we intended it to sound.
I think I hit the space bar and it was ready to go. So.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that tour, that '97 tour. I saw them too in Fort Worth, and it was just I was blown out of the water by that. And Strength Through Joy and Boyd and Death in June. It was just an amazing tour.
Oh yeah, that was at the height of the total. To me, that's at the height of the Total War thing. That he had going on at the time. And it was just amazing. So, I mean, you obviously you've seen what he's doing now. How does it compare to that? What's it like now?
Well, if you see Boyd live, he's never going to play more than 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be now with his sets. He's got a mixture of the noise stuff that you come to expect, and also some spoken things too. From what I've heard, he's got a new album finished, and he said that it's his most minimal thing he's ever done, and I haven't heard it yet. But
wow.
I'm excited to hear it once I do. It's called Blast of Silence.
Is it just like a silent album? Because I'm trying to imagine more minimal. How can it be more minimal than the non-stuff?
I don't think it's going to be that literal. I don't think it's going to be a John Cale thing. But but if it is, that's genius. But no, he said it does sound different on every sound system that he's played it on. So there is some kind of audio there. I don't know if it's drones, tones. I don't know what's going on with it, but I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Very interesting. Yeah. So what are the crowds been like in Europe?
Oh, they're great. We played a festival called Runes and Men, and that was the most people that we'd ever played to before. And I don't know how many people were in that hall in Germany, but it seemed like 3,000 people or something. It was just, you look out and the whole thing is just like people all the way to the back, and they're all staring straight up. That was the biggest crowd that we played for. But all the European crowds, especially in Germany, they're all wonderful. It seems to be where the majority of our fan base is right now is over in Northern Europe. It seems. I wish more people in the States would kind of pick up the vibe of what we're doing. But I think it's kind of hard for any band in our genre really right now.
Yeah.
And maybe that's changing. Maybe it's changing. I don't know. One can hope.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the environment in America to me seems like pretty unfriendly to anything, outside of a really narrow definition of what is, good and acceptable, art and music.
Everybody's just they've got this sickness. There's this virus that's spreading across American culture, and you see it across the West in general, and it's just this obsession with some kind of identity politics, and it's poisoning everything. I think it's really unfortunate, and well, I guess I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. It depends on the stance that you take with it. Some people can find good in all diseases, I guess, but it can be inconvenient. I'll put it that way.
Do you feel that disease is not taking over in Europe, or not taking over as much, or is there a difference?
Well, I think it's been virulent in Europe, and the U.S. is catching up to it.
Okay.
I mean, whenever we've gone overseas, and we were in Milan, and we were going around, and we're like, oh, great, we're going to go see the center of fashion, and blah, blah, blah. And we're driving around, and it's graffiti all over the walls, and Antifa, and, ACAB, and everything all over the place. And I'm just like, well, this is supposed to be the center of culture. This is supposed to be the center of fashion. And these people are scared to take this graffiti, or they tolerate it anyway, to take the graffiti down from the walls. It's just, wow. I don't know. It's a shame.
Right.
And you see it in parts of Germany, too. And it looks like, you go to see a nice part of Germany, and it looks like East LA or something, because they call it, oh, it's street art. No, it's called graffiti. And you should clean it up.
And so my friend Stefan, I have this friend Stefan that I don't know if it's even possible you might have met Stefan at one point. He was in Houston on doing like an internship for his work, and he's from East Germany originally, and we got to be good friends. And he came out with us with Asmodeus X. He came out, when we were doing little, regional shows and stuff. And then I went over after he went back. Then Jen, my wife, and I, we went over and to the Wave Gothic Trap-In. This was like 2006, I want to say, and we're hanging out over there, just having a great time. It's wonderful. We're like, oh my God, Leipzig is so amazing. Europe is so amazing. And Berlin, of course, Berlin has always had some a little more of that urban kind of like feel to it, but it was fine, and you felt safe everywhere. And when I talked to Stefan years later, and this was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he said he was like trying to move out of the city. He said, it's not safe here anymore. You can't really come here and walk around anymore. And everything that you're hearing in America about immigration crisis and the rape situation that's happening over there. He said everything you're hearing in America is watered down. It's much worse than any of the information that we're getting here.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Yeah. That's a shame. But what are they going to do about it, right? I mean, it's a real crisis for them over there, and everybody, is scared to say anything about it because they don't want to be called hateful, or they have actual laws about what you can say and do over there too if you want to try to change anything.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated situation for them. I understand that, but my heart goes out to them.
And this is one of the things that really that disturbs me about, I guess, the movement that's occurring in America right now is the threat to freedom of speech. It's the emphasis on language. It really freaks me out because, this is the other thing I remember about, like when I was, traveling to Europe, and going outside of the States, is that you see they don't have that thing about speech, or so they've always had like laws about there's certain words you can't use. You can't say this, and
right.
It's not just manners. No, there's a law against it.
Right.
And
right.
Thought,
you will be arrested.
So weird.
Prosecuted.
Right. And we thought that's so weird because in America we can say anything we want, right? Now there's there's things that you don't say.
Yeah.
Right. But there's not any threat that you're going to be arrested because of your, language.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that's changing. It feels like that's changing, and maybe it's what you said, that it's like America is like catching up to Europe in that regard.
I think it is, and more's the pity. I think, really, But I don't know. It's a changing culture too, and what they're willing to tolerate, and what the new culture's ideals are, what their agendas are, and people use the word culture war a lot, but I think it's a real thing, but it's kind of a sleeping war. I don't think you're going to see people actually so much taking up arms and getting out in the streets over it, because they're still going to be incapacitated by the social media and all of the little commercial distractions that we all have and enjoy. But you'll see it gradually change, and things will be stripped away. In a couple of generations, people won't even remember things like that. It's kind of how those things work, it seems.
No, they do. They skip generations. So I'm watching all the lunar. Have you been watching the lunar landing stuff?
I've heard about it on the radio when I've been driving.
Right.
I haven't actually seen it.
It's the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11. So they're just running all this propaganda stuff about America to the moon, which, and I'm not going to get into whether I think we landed on the moon or not, but I think it's a reasonable conversation to have about whether that happened.
Right.
It's reasonable to have a conversation about, did that happen or did that not happen? And there's compelling arguments for both sides. However, I noticed that they've set a new goal of getting to the moon by, what is it? It's like 2020 something. It's somewhere in the future.
2024, I think. I heard it yesterday. 2024, they were saying.
Yeah.
With the end goal of getting to Mars, getting a man on Mars, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, you realize what's happened here is that it's been put off so long that the whole generation of people that could have possibly been there for it are all going to be dead by then, right?
Right.
And it's like only young people who've really grown up on the myth of it, not the myth, but the propaganda, the imagery of it, which may or may not be accurate, And certainly there's no imagery that you and I ever have in our lives seen that was not doctored already. Of the moon or people walking around on it,
And you're saying this in Houston. It's sacrilege. That's the space country right there.
I know it is. It's sacrilege. I feel bad.
Every second, sir.
Yeah, I feel bad.
But no, if you think about it, right? I do happen to believe that we did it, but I think it's a miracle that it happened, because we just had transistor radio technology. I mean, it's a miracle that it happened, that the television projection actually managed to work at the last second, that we could actually see it happen, and that all of them didn't die, that they didn't crash into a crater, and that they actually managed to get back home. It is miraculous, but I do believe that it did happen. But and now they're saying it's going to take till 2024 to get back there again. So we've gone back that far in our ability to make this thing happen. And of course, what it comes down to is money and interest. We had the great motivator. We had to beat the Russians, right, in the space race. So that was priority number one. We could throw all of our funds at that, all of everything that would have normally been diverted to the fat cats and the other sides of the military and everything else. I mean, well, let's put it into this so that we can beat them and be there first. And now it's not such a priority. So now it's going to take till 2024 to get the damn thing done. That doesn't make any sense. The only answer is money, I think, right?
Well, again, I mean, what the the factor that is behind the money and all these things is the fact that it's a government program. And so the government has ordained that it's going to handle that. You get up into airspace, too far, and it's like the government comes in and says, no, we own this. We have domain here. And, and then this, Elon Musk comes along, free market entrepreneur and everything, pushing things, pushing up the game, saying, well, I'm just going to do it. Well, eventually, though, what happens is he gets co-opted. He's been co-opted now. He's been incorporated into the whole scene. But now they're like, well, we'll use his energy and his resources and everything to get it going again. But I think before that, I think NASA was mainly they were spending most of their time just trying to make better fake videos. Of people, with their hair sprayed up on the International Space Station, to look like they're in zero gravity and silly things like that. But.
I was just thinking about this. I'm sure other people have written about this, but I was just wondering how many people have explored this concept, kind of the esoteric and the occult aspects of penetrating our atmosphere, going in and actually touching down and having a man on the moon. You can kind of go into that. That's kind of an interesting concept to me. I was just mulling over that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of occult implications of it. So a lot of esoteric systems look at the moon as being actually kind of a step down from Earth, like in the in the system of organic life, because the moon is in Earth's orbit, right? So the moon is owned by the Earth. It's like beyond.
It's like slave to our orbit. Yeah.
Exactly. The moon is a slave to the Earth. Earth is a slave to the sun. Sun is a slave to whatever, the category of all suns, all of the universe and stuff like this.
Right.
So there's this idea there. So in that sense, really all this trouble of going to the moon is kind of going it's kind of going downwards. It's kind of going backwards in the scheme of like the evolution of the universe, We're getting further away from getting out of the solar system by going to the moon in that sense.
Right, yeah. But you can also look at the lunar aspect as, if you want to look kind of more left-hand path, and the moon and representation of darkness is actually making physical contact with that thing itself. It's that's where my mind was going initially. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. No, it's pretty mind blowing. I hope it's real. See, the other thing, as skeptical as I am about the moon, I really want to believe it really bad. I want to believe that man has the power to transcend this existence. I'm a fan of Nietzsche and the idea that the human condition means transcending human, right? That's what it means to be human, is to want to transcend the human condition and to strive to do it. And it's something that humans have done, despite tremendously stupid, setbacks here and there. We have in general, done that. We created all kinds of libraries and stuff like that. So it's like, I want to believe that. I want to believe that we are going to go out into space. And Mars is what I'm really interested in. Mars. I really want us to go there. Yes. That's where all of my occult excitement is stemming from.
Right. Yeah. And so you kind of wonder, is there an occult agenda behind the space program too? We could go to other planets. We're choosing Mars. First we went to the moon. Now we're going to go to Mars. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I hadn't thought about it really necessarily before. It was just kind of popping into my head. But I agree with you on the Nietzschean aspect of it, and I think it's one of the things that makes us the most exceptional animal too. Is the knowledge and the ability. And the will to do those things.
Definitely. So tell me about Awen. What does the name mean?
It's an old pre-Welsh Brittonic word that means poetic inspiration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I found it in a book that I was reading once, and it was talking about how the old Welsh poets and things, they had rituals that they would go through in order to get contact from the deities, that the Awen was a gift to them, that would be put into their minds, and that would be the inspiration. And there were different little rituals and stuff that they would go through. They would chew a piece of pork or something and then sleep on one side or whatever to hope to kind of inspire this thing. Everybody's always tried to figure out a way to get inspiration and how to make that thing happen. And it's such a fickle thing sometimes. The muses choose you. You don't choose the muses. It's generally kind of how I feel about it. If you try to force it, it's not generally going to be the best thing that you do, I think. But other people disagree with that. There are writers that say that they go into it like a job, and they make sure that they just devote 6 or 8 hours of a day to doing the thing, and then whatever comes out, they whittle the dross away, and then they get something from it. It's like panhandling or something. I don't know. Maybe it works for them, but it doesn't for me. Do you have a process like that?
For musical creation?
Yeah, just creativity in general. Can you force it to happen? Can you go in and do it, or will you just be doing something mundane like washing your hair in the shower or something, and then wham, it comes into your head, and you've got to write it down. You got to do it or whatever.
It's a combination of both. It's both of them. So, sometimes I'll sit down, I'll just bang out 3 different song ideas. Or I'll start like a couple of books or something, or a couple of writing pieces or something, and just bang out the basic pieces of it. And then I never I never sit and complete anything end to end, in a reasonable amount of time. I always walk away from it and leave it in some kind of state of incompletion. And then I'll get ideas. I get the best ideas at the weirdest times, like while I'm at work, or like you said, while I'm in the shower, someplace where I can't write it down, or I can't actually work on it right now. I get the best idea in the world. I'm like, you gotta remember this, gotta remember this. And then, whatever. 48 hours later, you're sitting in front of the computer or whatever again. You're like, what was that idea? I cannot fucking remember it.
That's why these damn phones are so amazing for me, because I can make a note in it, or I can use a voice recording thing and get a sketch or something. I do use that, because I would have that before, in years past, where it would just be gone. And then, the further you try to grasp for it, the further it goes away from you teasingly,
Yeah.
Until it's not anything like it was, your original inspiration.
So how did you originally get into doing music? When did you first start it? When did you realize this is the thing you were supposed to do?
Yeah. Well, I bought a reel-to-reel tape player, and that was probably 1996 or 97, and I started doing experimentations with it. I would take classical music and I would slow it down, and then I would record overdubs onto it, and then do pitches and slowing down and physically manipulate the tape a little bit. And so I started experimenting with that, and then I got a 4-track tape recorder, which I learned I could do even more with. And a lot of the early Awen songs, several of the early Awen songs anyway, actually started from that experimentation with some friends of mine. And that project was called From Teeth Truth, but none of those recordings have ever seen the light of day yet. So that was pre-2000. That was all late 90s that I started getting into that.
So you basically started out with the loops and samples and tape like angle of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I was really interested in hearing sounds that I couldn't easily identify. Something that sounded new, that sounded different, and sounded disturbing. And so my initial experiments were trying to do things like that would make the listener go, I can't place what that is. What is that? And it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've gotten ever more conventional since, apparently, because now we've got untreated guitars. And
well, it still makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
All right, well there you go, doing something right. I hear that though from people that will see us and they've never seen us before, and you know, if they come up and talk to me, they're usually kind of a little anxious, and then they'll say something like, you made me feel uncomfortable. Like, well, it's not on purpose.
You can get that much further with it if when you get into noise music and it's like, here's my song, and it's just something, it's like fingers on a chalkboard or something. It definitely makes everyone feel uncomfortable. Well, that's as far as like this music is going to go. But if you can put in if you use like Mary Poppins says, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Or Anton LaVey had a law of 9 parts respectability combined with 1 part outrage. So everything about your presentation is totally cool and respectable. There's 1 part of it that's just like completely incites people. It's like that's like a virus. It's like contained within a candy coating though, and it can like go that much further.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I don't think I'm an outrageous looking person, but when we get up there, whenever we record or whenever we get up to do a live show, I'm definitely channeling something that comes through, and people can pick up on that, and you'd be like, well, he looks like a normal nice guy, but then this thing came through, and the hackles went up on my skin. Yeah.
No, you are a nice looking man. I can confirm that. For all this is just an audio interview, so people don't get to see you. You know who I thought you looked like?
Who's that?
I thought that you looked like Mark Hollis from Talk Talk.
Oh, wow.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know Talk Talk. I'm trying to remember what the guy looks like. Okay. Well, hey, I'll take it. I hope you mean that well.
Oh no, it's like one of my favorites. No, when I was like, let me tell you, 1980. When was that? 84, 85 or something. Talk Talk's first album. Their first album, not when they got on MTV and they're doing "It's My Life" and stuff, but their first album. It's really dark. It's called.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
It's called The Party's Over. And it's like their setup was like a drum machine with a guy playing trigger pads, and then a guy playing bass, like a fretless bass is really good, and then just a keyboard player, and that's it. And then Mark Hollis like singing, and it was really cold sounding, really cold, kind of like dark, 80s kind of, new wave.
I love that stuff. That's what I mostly listen to is kind of new romantic and new wave and the early experimental kind of proto-industrial stuff. Right.
Cool. Like what? So what kind of things, when you were starting to do your tape experiments, what sorts of music were you inspired by? What were you listening to?
Oh, I had a girlfriend because I grew up in San Antonio, and I moved away from there in the early 90s. But I had a girlfriend who had an older friend who lived in Florida, and her name was Chantel, and she would make her all of these mixtapes, these fantastic mixtapes. And it had things on there like Coil and Throbbing Gristle and Current 93 and Death in June and Nick Cave and Swans and all of these bands that I was borrowing my girlfriend's tapes and not returning them. And and learning about all this stuff and just like playing it over and over again, like wow, because I never heard music that had done exactly what I wanted since I was a kid to hear, which was where you could do essentially like a poetry recitation and strange, stark, abstract sounds together and have it be an acceptable record that people would put out and people would listen to. just the atmosphere, the dark atmosphere that was coming out of the sounds of those mixtapes made the impression on me. So that was really the inspiration. And the funny thing is, I never thought I'd get to meet Chantal, but when we played a show, we opened for Death in June in Austin, and she showed up. She came from Florida, and
whoa.
We got to actually meet at the show. And that was fantastic.
Wow.
And I told her, I said, you're the reason for me even doing any of this. So thank you so much.
Wow.
It's an honor to meet you.
It's a great story. Needle folk, bringing people together.
Yeah, and we're still in contact today through Facebook and stuff. So really
awesome.
Nice.
So you're into that kind of stuff. So then, what was your gateway into the neo folk realm? When did you decide that you wanted to do that?
Oh, I would have to say when I bought the vinyl record of 93 Dead Sun Wheels. That was a game changer for me. I heard this and I was like, that is it. That's it.
Uh-huh.
That's the sound. You have all of the elements there together. You have that magnificent sounding guitar. You have the loops going on. You have that kind of delivery, that vocal delivery going on. It's just all of it together. It was just encapsulated a sound that really spoke to my soul.
Yeah. I can identify with that. So the first Death in June I heard was Heaven Street, definitely Heaven Street, that song.
Yep.
Maybe other songs around it, but that song specifically I heard. And at the time, in my mind, it was like I associated this as being like Joy Division, like the next step from it, because I was into Joy Division. I was into Joy Division, not at the time they came out. It's like, it was all over by the time I discovered any of this stuff. But
right.
I loved Joy Division. And then, then there's something called New Order. And it's like, well, the first album is kind of good, but then the rest of it sucks, It's
right,
like
yeah.
It's like some kind of like dance. It's like teenage makeout music or something, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. I'd
probably be too rough on it. Actually, okay, I like the New Order now. But when I was a young, angstful kid on the verge of either, suicide or maybe a school shooting, Joy Division like appealed to me, and then Death in June was like the next stage in that, right? It had the darkness, it had the real basic bass and guitar, and the vocals were the same, and plus they added some weird sounds of sampling. That's kind of how I associated it at the time.
Yeah.
And to be honest, they're probably now the only thing that is even close to that feel that still exists, really.
Yeah. Heaven Street's so great too, because just like you say, it's got that kind of post-punky, Joy Division-y feel to it, but then it's got this weird kind of sonar bleep that's monotonously just keeps going, and somehow that just makes it even darker. Yeah. You're like you feel like you're in a U-boat or you're in a bunker or something. It just feels oppressive even. It's genius.
Yeah. And so what about Throbbing Gristle and that whole side of things? Did you ever have any exposure to that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Genesis P-Org has been an inspiration for me, especially with Throbbing Gristle work. It's Hamburger Lady. Come on.
Oh yeah.
That's another one of the tracks that I first heard, and I was like, wow, I've never heard anything that has these kinds of sounds that I can't identify, and this disturbing kind of sickly feeling to it, and you can barely make out what he's talking about, but it's not good.
Yeah.
There's something
good.
There's something about a woman in a hospital, and thanks to medical advances, she can't die. So that doesn't sound great. And then you hear the swell, and it's like, oh, it's genius.
It isn't going to end well.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I never liked films that gave you a happy ending like that. Anyway.
So that is that third annual report? Second annual report. Maybe it's second or third annual report, I think, is that album. That has Hamburger Lady and what else is it? It has like a second annual report, yeah. I think you're right. That album is so good because each song on it, including Hamburger Lady, is like, I mean, they're all real songs, right? Because there's been other noise albums and stuff like that are basically the same thing, and you just listen to it once and it's like, oh, there's a bunch of noise, I'll remember it. But it's like that second annual report. It's like each song is like a thing unto itself, and I don't know if that's because of how they did it, or it's because of the time period that it came out and the time that I heard it. It's like it was so unique that it occupied, it immediately occupied the bandwidth that I had in myself for that kind of sound. But I mean, there's just something really, really, really great about that album and about the things that Throbbing Gristle was doing at the time. Like they invented the whole industrial thing, industrial records. I mean,
and they were friends with that fashion designer that designed their urban camouflage uniforms that they would wear. So they would have this camouflage look, this kind of paramilitary look.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you follow the French publisher? I might butcher this in the French, but I think it's Riva, Timeless. Do you know about that?
I don't know.
He puts out books, affiliated with this kind of thing. Well, he's put out a book of the original designs that this fashion designer had done, and she's since become apparently very famous. But had a book signing with her and some of the original Throbbing Gristle uniforms there, and I saw the pictures online. I was like, oh well, that's amazing. That's a piece of history right there. And there she is, the design them.
Wow. And I think that they're probably the first musical artists I saw that really incorporated a militant kind of thing.
Yeah, and they were being kind of naughty with it too, despite what Peter Christopherson and other people might say later. But their lightning flash logo was very reminiscent of Mosley's thing, and they had British Union of Fascists, old elderly people that were walking around them in the streets, and nobody wanted to talk about the war anymore. And there they were putting on paramilitary uniforms and putting a lightning flash on their sleeves. Of course they were tweaking people's ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, pretty ballsy to do at the time, actually.
And Manson too. That's another thing. I think they're the first to bring in Charles Manson stuff into their and make that like a centerpiece of it.
Yeah. Nobody was really interested in that stuff at that time, except for people like them and people that they knew that were using that kind of stuff and really kind of focused on it. Everybody else was just like, oh, this is like this, pop culture distraction thing, or he's the devil or whatever, but they were actually kind of looking into other aspects of it, it seemed.
Yeah. So you see they're making that man. Oh, no, this is what I wanted. I was going to talk about the Manson movie. I want to ask you if you've seen Midsummer.
Yeah, everybody keeps asking me about this. I haven't yet. I've heard all kinds of things about it, that it's supposed to be like a new Wicker Man kind of movie and stuff. So, people whose opinions I respect have told me that I need to see this thing, and I guess I should. I guess I should see it probably in a theater.
Yeah.
And if it is that good, I want to get the full experience of it. But have you seen it?
I have.
Did you like it?
I saw it at the Alamo Draft House.
Okay. That's where I would go if I were to go see it.
Yeah, me too. If I'm going to go see a movie in the theater, I'm only going to the Alamo Draft. There's nowhere else I will go. Once you drink beer in a movie, you cannot go to a regular movie theater again where it's all, popcorn and children and stuff.
That's the other thing I love about it. You can drink alcohol there, and they kick people out that make noise and pull their phones out, which I love.
Yeah.
Those people should be actually pulled around back in the alley and shot in the head. But, at least they get him out of the movie, so it doesn't bother you.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, you and I, we need to go to the movies together sometime. We're totally on the same page with this.
Yeah.
So we go to we only go to it's La Centera, which is like on the other side of Katy. There used to be an Alamo Draft House in Katy, which, we live in the middle of Houston, so that's actually like a 30-minute drive. But then that closed down, and they opened a bigger one just north of it, and that's the one we go to. So we still drive. I mean, we will drive 40 minutes to go to a movie theater because it's Alamo Draft House.
Great.
But, yeah, we saw that movie, and it's an interesting film. It's really interesting. It's the guy who made Hereditary.
And right, and Katrina and I just watched that the other night because other people had recommended it to us.
So what did you think about Hereditary?
I thought it was uneven, if I'm honest. I liked certain elements in it, and well, I guess for people that haven't seen it, I don't want to give anything away, but the
it's been out there for a while. I've talked about it on the show before too. So anyone listening to the show, it's like you missed your chance. It's like you're gonna spoil.
Okay, then I'm a horror movie fan, and I was really impressed by the severed head with the ends. I thought that was really, really well done. Where I thought it was uneven was in the storyline and what he was trying to get across, and the attempt at the occult aspect of it I thought was a little uneven, especially the ending.
Yeah. So here's what I thought. The first time we were going through, it's like the whole thing is unveiled. Really, the whole movie is about, it's a goetic demon at the end, right? That's what it's all leading up to. And I figured that out about halfway through, and I was like, okay, well, there's going to be a reveal or something here that this is leading up to. Right. There's going to be a reveal, and I was starting to see the stuff, and I was like, is that like so that looks like maybe that's a goetic image or something. And so then that's what it is. It's a goetic demon. And that's really exciting the first time you did it, just because it's a new stage in Hollywood. Because usually when Hollywood does a Satan movie or a demon movie, they get it all wrong. You know the guy. No one on this movie has read any books about this. The only exception to this in all of the history of this genre is maybe Rosemary's Baby, right? Which actually this film was very similar to that. In some ways, with the big reveal
I thought so.
at the end. Yeah, it's like all of them witches at the end, and you get your Rosemary's Baby feeling. But then I went back and I watched the movie. Yeah, and it's like, it's goetic. Wow, that's radical. I went back and watched it again afterwards, the second time through, and I was like, my only problem here's what I don't like about this is like no one in this movie is good. There's no good people in this movie. No one wins. There's no hero. There's no hero in it. I mean, even because Rosemary's Baby even does have that, right? Rosemary's Baby has this thing at the end where she's like, all of them witches, and she freaks out and they're all bad. But then she starts rocking the baby. So there's there's this question at the end about her relationship to it. Maybe she's gonna be involved with whatever the reign of Satan on earth, and maybe her motherhood is more important, right?
Right, yeah.
Maybe her motherhood is like the important thing. But I don't know, it has these questions. But Hereditary didn't have that. It's just, he killed a bunch of people. The only person who was good was the father, right? He's trying to help his son not get freaked out by his mother, who obviously has mental health issues. And but then he gets like burned alive or something. So the only good person is just destroyed. So
and that's what I was thinking too. Like what is even real in this by the ending of the movie? You can't tell how much of it is her paranoid schizophrenia. Was there really a goetic demon? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, you don't even know, and no one is good anyhow. It's like the people who are the cult worshippers. Well, they're just a bunch of like mindless hippies, you know, who are just like, you know, they're in love with some deity. They're just thronging around this deity like Christians would. And and the guy who's supposedly Paimon now, I mean, well, what's he gonna do? Just go around and kill people? What's his purpose? You know?
Right. Yeah.
So
he looks like a little skinny weird puppet thing in there up in the treehouse or whatever's going on. You know?
Yeah.
It was really very strange. It was a very strange movie.
Yeah.
But I felt like it could have been a little more clear in what it was trying to get across.
Yeah.
Because I know other people that didn't have any point of reference to any of that stuff were just walking out of seeing that thing going, what is that? That's nonsense.
Yeah.
Which is music. It probably pissed off a lot of people off.
Yeah. And so Midsummer, you know, I'm not going to say anything about Midsummer right now, but I'll say it's very colorful.
Yeah.
Very colorful. I think there's more clear, like there's condemnation of certain things. There's like some social. I feel there's some social criticisms like going on. There's some social analysis going on in it.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say. It's very colorful. It's very European. It's like, you know, Swedish pagans frolicking in the fields, and it's, you know, it's very much in the style of Wicker Man. Of course, there's a dark secret, you know. Yep. There's going to be a reveal. So yeah.
One of my friends whose opinions I respect came out of the movie and texted me, and he goes, "That was the most neo-folk film I've ever seen in my life." So I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if you'd agree with that or if he was just having a bit of fun or not. But
you know, I would say that, you know, I would stop short of saying that because it's daylight the whole time. You can't have the most neo-folk movie ever, and it's like daylight constantly and pretty colors and. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to check it out. Maybe next weekend if it's still at an Alamo over here.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think about it.
I will.
Yeah. So what else is going on with Awen? You got shows coming up?
Yep. In October, we're going to be in Europe at the time of the release of the record for the first show that we play in Germany, and then we're only doing 2 shows this year. Over in Europe, so we're going to play in Germany, and then we're going to play in Belgium after. So just the 2 dates this time, and we're only going over there because of the record. So hopefully people come and check it out. The first show we're playing actually with the band Changes. They were kind of a proto-neo-folk band. Robert Taylor.
Okay.
And Nicholas Teslick. So it's an honor to play with those guys. And then the second show we're going to be playing with a band called Rome.
Okay.
From Luxembourg. And Jerome from Rome has become a pretty good friend of mine, and he's actually on our new album. And Katrina and I were on his last album that's just come out. So it's kind of a little incestuous thing going on there. So we're going to talk about maybe joining each other on stage for a couple of songs here.
Oh, it's very cool.
Yeah.
So what about the States? You going to do any shows in Texas so we can check you out?
Yeah, we plan on it. I'm talking to a couple of promoters right now about trying to get something set up before and then after these European shows, but we don't have anything nailed down yet. But as soon as I do, we'll get it all up online and advertised.
Awesome.
I'd like to do a show with you again.
I would like that also.
Great.
I think that would be groovy. And I was telling you, like I've been jamming with Asmodeus X again, and we've gotten a little bit more acoustic, neo-folky, kind of Western-ish, and so I think it'd be awesome if we did a show again. That'd be a wonderful thing. I'd love it.
Fantastic. Let's make it happen.
Definitely.
We'll go to you, or you could come to us, or both. Either
yeah. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, are we gonna get to listen to a song? Are we gonna get to play a song on this show?
Sure. Which one were you thinking? Did you have one chosen?
I like the Hollow in the Stone, the title track for it.
Okay, great.
And maybe because that song's really killer. I think it's really tight. I listen to. I like Perversity of Joy also. I like the Bridge of the Dark is good. I like the Sickle and the Setting Sun. Honestly, there's just like a lot of really good songs on here. It's a really good album, man. I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm really impressed. You guys did really good with this. And so this is going to be a record, right? You're going to have a record release?
Yeah, it's going to be a clear vinyl, and the way that this German company does it, they put the vinyl version out with a CD and a slipcase version with the vinyl. So it's like you get a CD version with the 12-inch record version.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
well,
it's also going to be on iTunes and wherever anybody gets their music now. It should be on all formats, digital as well.
Excellent. Well, we're going to check out the Hollow in the Stone here. And Erin, do you have any final words for everyone out there?
Well, I would say follow your instincts.
Yeah.
Never led me wrong.
All right. Well, awesome. Thanks for coming and chatting with us this evening, man, and keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing out there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to talk with you and a pleasure to meet up with you again.
Excellent. All right. Talk again soon, brother.
Saw me so slaked, are now long since dried to dust. Yet I remain, witness to myself alone.